Good morning. Welcome to another update from the bench. Today we have Circe here joining me. I'm going to be doing a little bit of an update and show you a little bit about the Chasing and Repousse process that I use to make these ornaments. Circe is currently taking up her spot on the back of my chair. You can see her poking out under my arm. The perils of having a cat that just won't stay out of your studio. So I've got the basic form of the angel repoussed in, meaning pushed up from the back. Now I'm going to chase in a little bit of detail from the front using Chasing and Repousse hammer and metal tools. I can get to see the focus in on them a little bit with different shapes on the working end. These act kind of as a substitute for the face of a hammer. They basically do the same work that my smithing hammer does when I'm working on a blade in the forge, but they are much smaller hammer face and allow me to concentrate the work. And I have probably 40 or so different shapes available to me, and anytime I need something that I don't have a shape for, I just make another tool. So I'm going to bring some of the lumps down out of the front area of the dress here, work maybe a little bit more detail into the face, chase in a few undercuts. By the way, if I'm working the front of the piece, it's called chasing. If I'm working the back of the piece, it's called repousse. The pitch is basically pine tar with a little bit of powdered plaster or other powder in it, and a little bit of rosin to stabilize it, make it stiffer. This particular pitch I use actually melts to a reasonable working temperature, somewhere around 100 degrees or so. So I can melt it enough to put the piece into it, fill the back of the piece with it, and put the piece in it and push it around with my fingers without getting burned. There are other types of pitch out there that certain people swear by, but they have a much higher melting temperature and they have a very narrow window between being able to be worked with and burning. And they don't come off with denatured alcohol the way this pitch does. So you have to smear the piece with something like Vaseline or chapstick or something like that before putting it in. And there are also all sorts of other really unfortunate working characteristics of those pitches. So I tried them, I hate them. For the way I work, their working temperature range is just dangerous and inconvenient. So I've been using the same pitch bowl with the same brand of black pitch. This is the Grobet black pitch. I've been using this literally since the mid-1980s, and it served me well. Anyway, I'm boring you with talking about the technical details of some of this stuff. So, go slightly less boring. No, only slightly. But if you're watching this, you're probably used to me droning on about technical details and absurdities like that. So, one of the things that the pitch does is it actually fills the back in and provides a support so that the areas that aren't being actively pushed by the tool don't just buckle and fold. So the pitch provides like a pressure upwards in the non-worked areas and a little bit of a resistance going down, but it flows reasonably freely, and I can actually adjust the resistance by, if I want it to be stiffer, I chill it a little bit. If I want one area to be really soft, I use a torch and just kind of spot heat it a little bit. The pitch is every bit as important as the tools that I'm working the top of the piece with. This process really doesn't work without both halves of the equation. Just as when you're working on a blade, the anvil imparts just as much of a shaping force as the hammer by reflecting the force back. The pitch is a very important part of this process, because the pitch supplies resistance to movement where you don't want the movement to happen, and allows you to isolate force to just where the tool is working. So it's a little hard to see here, but I'm basically defining the shape of the shoulder with a tool that has a rounded end, rounded and polished end. I like to work in a very strong three-dimensional relief. It's become one of the defining characteristics of my style. I like to have pieces that really jump out at you in a medieval way. If you look at a lot of the pre-industrial, Renaissance, and medieval metalwork pieces, you'll find that despite what it looks like in the art history textbooks, nothing is flat. Everything is three-dimensional because, well, they were looking at a three-dimensional world and they were trying to replicate that in their sculptural work, and the metalwork, the jewelry work, was really just another form of sculptural work on a smaller scale. So I'm using tools and techniques that an artisan like Benvenuto Cellini would be quite familiar with, and a lot of the Celtic artisans from 1,000 years earlier pretty much used the same tools and techniques. I found Chasing and Repousse work going all the way back to the Etruscans, going all the way back several millennia in Chinese work. I've seen chasing, but not so much the repousse in early Native American pieces. It's pretty much universal that people were using a hammer and some sort of a punch tool to move metal around and make extremely detailed work that you really have to go to a museum and look at it in person to understand, because the flat art that you see in textbooks just doesn't do it justice. Anyway, I've droned on, and hello, Circe, say hi to the camera. There you go. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for watching.